That's good right there. All right. Kind of waiting for someone to come in and let me know if the sound is working. I got a little mic that I'm wearing. There was some background noise issues with the last couple of videos, so we're gonna see how this one goes with this little microphone. I guess while we're waiting for someone to pop on, the chapter that we're talking about today is chapter 23, and pretty excited. This is the end of part 1. So we finally made it through part 1. This is the final chapter, the final medium dive, as I call it, and we're going to start pouring into all the clues or clues that we think we can assemble and put them together. Hey, if you're on and you're watching, let me know how the sound is coming through. I'm wearing a mic because there's some background noise going on. So just give me a thumbs up or let me know if you can or can't hear me, or if there's some sort of weird feedback, then I'll turn the mic off. But we're covering chapter 23, and it's the last chapter of part 1. So a couple interesting things I thought that we're going to point out. And then, all right, good, Huli, thanks. And then we're going to try to assemble the beginning. I'm going to do a separate video where we kind of go more in depth with what we've discovered or think we've discovered. But this one, we're going to introduce some topics. And then if anyone else has anything, because this is a live show that they want to talk about, I know certain people have been asking about other boxes, we can do that too. But let me get through chapter 23 first. All right, this is pretty interesting. It's very noticeable in that there's only one treasure topic for this book, for this chapter, and it's the faience beads necklace, right? And it's not even another thing that's unique about it is the treasure was kind of put together by JCB and his wife. So it's a very sentimental piece. It's a very special piece to both of them, right? He even describes it. All right. What does it say? Okay, he said, this necklace is not the most expensive item in our treasure, but to me, this necklace feels like the most personal item I've included. So if you're looking for, hey, what's up, Prospector Pete and Tim? If you're looking for a piece that kind of relates to him as most, in his own words, this piece is it, right? So again, this chapter is pretty short. It's only 1, 2, 3, kind of 3 pages long. There's 2 pictures. Both of them are of the necklace, right? So it's this one right here. Hey, what's up, Emilio? And we got the little jaguar right there. And the actual treasure is the beads, right? Because his buddy Alan Anawati gave him the beads, right? So you can assemble a necklace that's, this is important, right? A replica of the Carnegie one. So if you're looking on the Carnegie train, here's a tie out to that. I found a few interesting tie outs. When I'm looking through this chapter, I'm not looking for necessarily an aha eureka clue. I'm looking for, because this is the end of the part 1, I'm looking for something that ties in, something that kind of tells you, hey, this is what you should have been doing all along, or in case you missed it, this is what you need to go back and do. And I think he kind of tells us a little bit, right? So 3s and 5s and 9s are kind of important numbers throughout this whole book. Here's a 5, a big 5, is the 5 blessings of Hathor. And if you're looking for what the 5 are, he never really says. There we go, Bumblebee already. If you're looking for what the 5 are, he never really says. He just says the common practice, right, represented by the 5 fingers. Every day, all Egyptians were asked to look at their fingers and count 5 blessings they're grateful for. If you continue on page 198, he says, let's see, whether or not you choose to search for the treasure, the wisdom of the 5 gifts of Hathor remain. Let us be present and thankful. And then he lists 5 different questions. What friends can we make? What places can we visit? What can we learn from each other? Who will inspire us? And whom will we inspire? All right, so those are 5 things. Hey, Lord William of Livonia. Hi, how you doing? What's up, Jack? Respond to this. What, Duck? You didn't say anything. Respond to what? But if you look up the 5 gifts of Hathor, it's very interesting. All right, and they are the actual 5 gifts that you're supposed to Egyptians look out for are wives, children, beer, dogs. Oh, I missed one. Oh, let me see if I can Google it real quick before somebody in the chat can pick it up. It's beer is listed on one of them. It's 5 gifts of Hathor. Let's see if we can pull it up here real quick. Wives, children, beer, dog, and the river. There we go. The river. That was the fifth one. The Nile, obviously, is what the river is responding to. So if we're looking for uh, 5 gifts in the chapter, right here, here's where the number 5 comes about. I mean, there's a bunch of them, right? The colors, the Olympic rings, that's one of them. For me, I only need kind of 3 for something to appear 3 times in the book, right? The bees, I had trouble remembering the 3rd place, but the 3 places the bees are mentioned are excited like a bee on a pistil. And then Thoreau, his quote with the bee, I'm like a bee taking honey from the world, which is not how bees work. Bees actually take pollen and make honey. But I guess, Thoreau maybe was making a bigger point. And then the last part of the bees is his kids asking him, why do bees sting? All right, so if you're on the whole bee train looking for, why bees are in this book so often, those are the 3 places that you want to look. But 5, is pretty important in this book. The 5 gifts of Hathor, I think maybe something we should look back for. Maybe an important river. There's a bunch of rivers mentioned, but which one, if you had to pick one river, which river would it be? His children are mentioned, his wife's mentioned. Beer? I don't know if maybe someone will correct me. Does he mention drinking anything in this, drinking any beer or alcoholic beverages in the book? I'll have to go back and double check that because that wasn't something. Hey, what's up, Mom? There wasn't something I was looking for in the beginning. And dogs. Was dogs mentioned? Trying to think off the top of my head. Goats were mentioned. I don't remember if you remember a spot where dogs were mentioned. Call those out. Did he have a dog growing up? I can't really remember. But now that we've finished part 1, right? Now we start to begin to assemble what we've gathered and try to put them back together, right? So we've got the colors every time: blue, green, red, gold, black, gold or yellow, right? And see how we can put that through. We look for from the very beginning, the first 6, we kind of had a roadmap of what we were going to look for. And so from the very beginning, from the first chapter, we had mirror or twin or double, and that was kind of reinforced several times throughout the book. Like I think it's 6 or 7 at least major times where you not only do you have 2 chapters representing the same thing with like the emeralds, right? 2 chapters in emeralds, and if you're wondering why emeralds, he kind of gives you a little bit more detail in his interview with Timothy Schultz. I think I got that name right, where he talks about he grew up near an emerald mine. Emeralds are very special to him. He's always the funny thing about where if you look back at because now so in case you haven't missed it, I transitioned from focusing on 23, and now we're kind of going through the whole book trying to assemble some kind of roadmap all together of where we can begin to do a boots on the ground, or if we can narrow down a state. The funny thing about it is in the chapter where he talks about the 2 prejudices or preconceived notions he had to get over, one of them with the quartz, and how he has like this like love-hate relationship with quartz ever since he was little, digging in that red clay, right? Red, there's another one, and looking underneath of it and finding nothing but quartz, until finally he realizes as an adult, when he's assembling his treasure together, he finds that brilliant smoky quartz, right? So the most special treasure that he's said himself that feels the most connection to, with the necklace that him and his wife made in chapter 23. If you look up I forgot how to pronounce it. The beads, the glass beads, right? They're actually a type of quartz, at least from what I understood and from what I read, just from Wikipedia and Google, right? So the most important treasure in the whole book was a quartz type project that him and his wife worked on together. And for someone who he says he didn't like quartz, he associated with like failure of looking at all those things. Overall, let's go ahead and read it, right? Instead of me just trying to remember and make stuff up. I got the book right here. Let's go on and read it. So we're looking at page 20, or chapter 20, 172. Going down. All right, 174. Let's look at in chapter 4. I shared a memory. As a kid, I dug vigorously in the dirt looking for beautiful crystals. All right, here's something to remember that. Here's another call out of a twin chapter. We have chapter 20 and chapter 4. Right, he does this a lot where 2 chapters are paired together. And if we're looking for maybe out of 23 chapters, if we're looking for maybe a dozen clues, maybe you're supposed to pair the chapters together, right? And pairings together is not something new, right? Because a lot of people are trying to pair stuff together in the past and the future box with the crossword puzzle. We had a whole list of words. Some people found that some words kind of paired together naturally, and we're trying to force pairs with all the other ones. That might be something to do with the chapters, right? Okay, so we're in chapter 20, page 174, and he speaks about chapter 4. This was my earliest memory of feeling as if I was really searching for physical treasure. It made perfect sense then for me to set out to acquire a special item for our treasure made from smoky quartz. He goes on about smoky quartz. Rob Levinsky, big shout out there. Since smoky quartz was all I was finding, this particular type of crystal came to represent disappointment and unrewarded toil. Right, so he begins to associate smoky quartz with kind of failure, disappointment, unrewarded toil, which we're doing the opposite, right? We're looking for treasure, so we want rewarded toil. All right, and then again goes on. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but it goes on how he overcame that and how he finds a really beautiful quartz. But going back to the chapter 23, where he mentions his sing your own special song, make his own little special treasure. That's the type of quartz. If you look it up on Wikipedia and put it in the comments if Physonic beads or whatever are actually not a type of quartz, because that's what I came to the conclusion of. All right, so again, we finished the book. We finished all of part 1. Well, what do we do now? If you've been listening to me ever since I started this, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I've called out colors, I've called out chapters that work with each other, I've called out interesting words. We're now on this whole B train. Carnegie's popping up a lot. We've got a lot of myths, we've got legends, which something someone will share today on YouTube was maybe the point of the looking beyond the myths and the legends is to look at the science beyond that. And they brought up the example of who did they say? Newton or Aristotle? I think it was Newton, who maybe Aristotle. We're gonna go with Newton, who some of the experiments he ended up running was based on myths and legends that he had grew up hearing, and he kind of wanted to look at the science beyond that. So maybe that's a message JCB is trying to tell us. He's definitely telling us something, right? One of the other in chapter 23, one of his kind of summarizing statements as he goes on about the human condition. And he started this trend maybe 4 chapters ago, chapter 19, where he starts like, not grandstanding, I think has negative connotations, but he starts talking about making his point, right? Because he's putting these books out. Someone said the count's up to 200,000. I haven't been paying that close attention. I'm thinking maybe it's around 150, but if it truly is the count up to 200,000, that's a lot of books. And he's very open about this is a great book, a good coffee table book. Even if you don't want to look for the treasure, there's something to be gained from the book. So I think our job is to try to divide the book into what is clues and hints and what is him just trying to, he didn't like his birthstone either, right? Garnet, which I didn't know that garnets could be green either. So that was something I learned, that there can be a green garnet. But one of our jobs as treasure hunters trying to interpret this book is to figure out what is him, what parts of the book are him just kind of making a social statement, trying to better humanity and spread love, spread joy, about how all humans are the same, that if you're a flower down in the patch and all you see is thorns, but if you change your perspective, you can see a beautiful flower field. And so I don't really think in my mind that he's running dual throughout the whole book, doing like dual layers where the statements are for clues and hints and also part of his point that he wants to make, right? His legacy, if you will. I don't think that that's how he's running the book, just because of it's so massive. And but maybe he could be, and maybe you disagree, and maybe a year later when no box is found, we'll have to circle back and say every single line is a treasure or is a clue or is a hint. I personally disagree. I don't think that. I think once everything's been revealed, I think there will be like 80% or 90% of the book is history, it's life lessons, it's stuff he wants to share with us, and maybe 10 to 20% is actual like clues and hints and little bits of wordplay that you can decipher, right? Because in my mind, it's going to be vague. Even if you sit down and figure it out, you're still not going to figure out like when you go through the chapter, you're not going to get, okay, these are the coordinates again. These are, every single line. You got your ruler, and okay, this line it translates to 4. This line is 3. I just don't think that that's the way it's going to be throughout the book. If you ask what evidence do I have, I kind of look back to the 4 smaller boxes. I'm looking at the book 2 ways, right? So we look through part 1 in order, 1 through 23, trying to figure out where the clues are, how he writes, what words are him just being quirky or his personality, and what words are him trying to pass a message along. And then we get to part 2, where if you read it in order, which I guess he wants you to read it in order, right? I think that's, if asked about it, I don't know if that's ever been asked in an interview. What order should we read it in? That'd be a good one to ask if it hasn't been asked. If it hasn't been asked yet, but I think he wants you to read it right in order. So you're supposed to get through part 1, and then you get into part 2. And I think part 2 is eye-catching enough with the map, with the crossword, with the poem. It's very eye-catching, and so you're supposed to get bogged down in part 2. I think he's expecting you to get bogged down in part 2. He's even said that the boxes in part 2 would be easier, but it's interesting that he put it behind part 1. So you had to get through part 1 to get to the easy stuff. And once you get there, I think you'll learn some lessons. Whoever finds the first box will learn a lot of stuff. But I think working on the small boxes, you'll kind of learn a little bit about how some of the puzzles work. When he said he would change historical facts from time to time, they use this phrase from time to time. Maybe check with Spanish. Time to time, it could be a good one. Mandy, hey, what's up? Especially we were looking at time travel. What were we looking at time travel for? Time dilation. I think that was maybe the Pokemon chapter. We were kind of going down that rabbit hole of time traveling different places with that's right, with Narnia and Lion the Witcher in the Wardrobe, and then Alice in Wonderland. How time kind of changed differently there. But if it's in the lion's share, that could be fair game too. What else? He didn't like his birthstone either. Yeah, Garnet. A couple things he didn't like. He's very, very open about his flaws, right? His preconceived things that he has and perspectives that he's changed, right? So that's but now that we've read all of part 1, how are we applying what the lessons we've learned, right? So the lessons we've learned are we've learned about perspective, we learned about confirmation bias, and when I say lessons we've learned, I'm talking about lessons where JCB has like taught us something in the book, so we're supposed to learn from that. Okay, confirmation bias, change your perspective. He encourages us to make your own song, blaze your own path, choose your own path. What other lessons are we supposed to learn? The whole blaze your own path thing, as far as a place that I'm looking at, this was asked to me today in Discord. Do I think that it's behind a place that's going to charge money, charge a fee, right? This is a pretty interesting question. I think that there's no way JCB would answer that question with an affirmative yes or no, because or he wouldn't say it's free, right? Because that would narrow down like a lot. And if you look in the interview when he's first asked that, he kind of like takes a place and thinks. It looks to me like he's thinking of an answer, or it looks to me like he's remembering a phrase that he wants to say. It's not something just off the cuff. It's not something that he was like drilled into that he can just repeat back really quickly. Some questions are like that. Sometimes JCB's asked the same question over and over again in his interviews, and he just gives the answer right away because it's something he's been trained in and expecting. This is one I think he really wanted to get right. Why? Well, I mean, there's a lot of toll roads. There's a lot of parks that charge for camping, that charge for parking, that charge for hiking, all over the place. And when he was going out to actually place it, do I think that he would have used a free one? I don't know. My gut says yes. My gut says that he would have chose a free place. But again, just my gut is not good enough to rule something out. So if I have clues or direction that point to a certain area, I'm still going to follow that up. Now, I ran into this a month ago when I went to Skyline Drive, and the charge was like $30. Yeah, I don't think that's kind of high. I don't know if I have a dollar limit that's the cap. Like, okay, if it's under 10 or 12, yeah, probably fair game. If it's over 20, probably not. I don't know. Maybe 2025 is kind of upper limit again, but I don't want to set a hard rule. If I have a solve and everything matches, like I find clues for everything, then I'm probably willing to pay whatever. Because maybe I don't know. Maybe they changed. Maybe that's why JCB was safe in his answer. Because I guess I mean I don't know if he could have foreseen what this election was going to look like and what all these new orders and rules and bills coming out, and that could change the pricing of parks. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, right? We live in uncertain times, especially dealing with like national parks and what just happened to, I guess, all the rangers and stuff like that. So maybe that's why. Maybe he's clued in politically, and that's why he was like a little bit hesitant on the answer. I don't know. But I still think that when he went to hide the treasure, it was free. The place that he hit it. But again, I'm not going to rule out places that charge something. I'm just if the solve is good enough, right? What else? Did I miss anything besides Lord William, Duck V, Bumblebee? No other questions. If you have any questions or any topics that you'd like to speak on or want to hear my opinion on, go ahead and put that in the chat because we're kind of approaching 20 minutes, so probably going to cut it in the next couple minutes if nothing else comes out. I do want to start. I've started compiling all my notes from each individual chapter and trying to see if the next video I put out, unless something crazy happens, the next video I plan to put out will be trying to make sense of everything that we've discovered from all these individual chapters to put it through a boot on the ground location. Or if someone were to say, hey, I'll pay you X amount of dollars, just give me a state. Or if someone say, hey, let's play a little game. You choose the correct state that the lion share box is in, and you get a cut of the box, right? Just playing these little hypothetical games to kind of help myself dial in. That's kind of the game we're going to play next time I run this, which hopefully I'll get a chance to run this weekend and put another video out. We'll see. Again, the whole B thing, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to apply to a boots on the ground location, but definitely with the colors and the states. Oh, something else about the cities and states. Let me get the book again. Where did I put it? I don't think it's going to be in a city that's been mentioned, right? So, and this is, I don't really have a lot of proof or a lot of clues or indicators that would allow me to make that statement. That's just how I'm going to approach it for now. I don't think that the final lion's share boots on the ground spot will be in a city that's named, or any place that's named. All right, that's just what I'm going off of. I think that would be too easy and opening up his solve for criticisms. A few other points that I missed that I want to make with talking about with him and Kimberly, right? So this is page 197. For years now, Kimberly and I have shared what we call, creative nights, recorded songs, drawn paintings, scribed poems, acted out our favorite movie scenes, played at home escape games, and created puzzles for friends, right? So that's a list of 5. If you want to put the escape room games and creative puzzles and put those together, I mean, that's a list of 6. I'm sorry. If you want to put those last 2 together, that would be 5. If you want 5 things. If you want to compare and contrast that list with the list in part 2, just 2 or 3 pages later, where he talks about Kimberly and I quite enjoy puzzles, riddles, mysteries, escape rooms, and board games. Was he writing this at the same time? Was he editing it at the same time? Is there a reason why those lists are very similar, very close? But again, I do think that this chapter is kind of a summarizing chapter. It's kind of saying, in my mind, what I'm getting from it is, hey, look back on the book. Take a look at the games we put in there. Take a look at the list of the 5 blessings. Oh, this is the biggest one. I'm glad I remembered it. Okay, so going back to the 5 gifts of Hathor, right? Which when I read Hathor, I keep thinking of Hafthor and like the Vikings, but it's not. It's Hathor, which maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. But this is the last point I want to make, unless someone else says anything. So he talks about the Egyptians using their hand for 5 things, and he doesn't list what the 5 things are. He kind of gives you his own 5 questions. All right, he just says the 5 blessings. If you look it up, it's very easy to look up. It's see if I remember this right. It's your wives, your children, river, dogs, and beer. Right, 5 blessings. Hathor is also associated with the lotus, right? And there's been I'm pretty big on the whole lotus connection, right? You can find that in a couple different places in the book, and the first place it's mentioned is pretty powerful in my opinion. So powerful enough, I just want to cover it again one more time, because this is the base of where we get the colors from. This is on page 30. 32 and 33. All right. So again, this is early in the book, and early in the book, he tells us about making a map, a blueprint, and we get that from chapter 1. We get that from the postscript. So we get that in 2 places that tell us the early chapters are kind of making a blueprint for how you read the rest of the book. Here we go. 32. All right. So Hindu myths tell us that in preparation for the genesis of humanity, the god Vishnu grew a lotus out of his navel. All right. The lotus was then divided into the heavens, earth, and the sky. The lotus flower is a central symbol in the story of creation. So not only do we have the 2nd chapter of the book, still very early on, but we're still talking about Genesis, and we're talking about creation. Very important. For Buddhists, the lotus flower is sacred. Life cycle of the lotus is a metaphor for resilience and personal evolution. Again, that's kind of what he talks about in the book, personal evolution. Here we go. The color. For Buddhists, the color of a lotus adds additional implications. We got, so the pink lotus signals that there is important historical significance. Red lotus denotes love. White lotus portends purity. But what about the color blue? Question mark. That's a question that he's asking us as a reader. Hey, DW, finally. Okay, now we're ending it. All right, so goodbye, everyone. Nah, I'm messing with the DW. You got a couple minutes. What about the color blue? Question mark. That's the question JCB is asking us. Blue lotus possesses the most powerful symbolism of all. Again, that's JCB talking to you, the reader. Powerful symbolism. A blue lotus indicates that knowledge and wisdom have conjoined to prepare a path to enlightenment where all secrets are revealed. That's what we're looking for. We're reading this book to try to reveal secrets. And there you have it. The lotus is right there in chapter 2 and in chapter 23. So it kind of bookends the book. That bookends the book. Bookends. I lost my train of thought there, but it bookends it. It's on both sides, right? Creating a nice little clue sandwich. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, DW. Briefly, what we covered chapter 23. I put out a few introductory statements about how I'm going to start assembling these clues, and I don't know. Right now, I'm not super confident that the next video I'll have boots on the ground or a state location for you. I'm like, I don't know, 50%. But I do think I'm going to pull together some pretty interesting threads, right? So a lot of people like the whole bee thing. I think I was one of the earlier ones to come up with that. The lotus thing is not really original to me. A few people are on the lotus train. Carnegie looks like he's a reoccurring character. Again, that's not original to me. I think we can do a top 3. I think I feel good about producing a top 3. Okay, so what else? Myths, legends. So that's what I'm going to be looking for to compile our top 3. DW is trying to do look at the colors, look at myths, fairy tales, and legends in the book. We'll try to pull some Greek and Roman because they're kind of throughout there, and then look at some Carnegie. We'll do the bees because why not? And then the lotus flowers. I think those are like 6 or 7 threads we can pull on and try to see what meshes together out of all those. I think that should be pretty interesting. All right, but that's it. Going once, going twice. Appreciate everyone for joining this live. If the sound is massively better for this video than the other videos, I'll probably keep doing it with this little mic mic thing I got here. I don't know. There's like an air purifier and a humidifier that run in the background. So sometimes I guess that creates a little bit of a buzz or a feedback. But all right, that's it, guys. Take care.